Try it now. There we go. All right, good people. Hello, hello. We're going to go ahead and get started. So if you can find your seat. Yeah. And so you can find your seat. And as you can see, this is another edition of our great conversations called Soul Talks. And we're going to have some really great conversation. I want everybody to get as close as we possibly can, please. Right? So if you're sitting in the further region, come on up. Nobody's going to bite you, I don't think. It's good to see everybody. Come on up. I still see a bunch of empty seats up front. So come on up. I need people to fill it in. Thank you. Good people in the back. Y'all hear me? Come on up. There we go. You know, we got cameras in here. We don't need it to look, you know. So let's fill in the seats, good people. There we go. It's working now. There we go. I love it when a plan comes together, right? Yeah. No empty seats. There we go. Now we get to see all the good people that's in the room. Look at it. Come on, we still moving up. Come on, everybody that's up and standing, come on, let's have some seats. Thank you. And so as we get started, I just wanted to, number one, thank you all for coming out. This conversation is of the utmost importance. We are understanding and getting in the minds of men. And so we have some great people on deck to get information from, some great community leaders, and I'm just excited about that. And then, you know, we just invited you all because you all are special to the cause, right? And so we want to make sure that we have all the right people in the room, and so it looks like we do. So I'm excited for that, and I do want to. Been doing a great job in that aspect and really kind of bringing some awareness to mental health in Franklin County. I am indeed thankful to you, and I hope and I have a lot of gratitude in my heart because this is a necessary conversation. And all of the information and the conversations that we have been necessary, but this particular one for me is special. So without further ado, our very own Commissioner Kevin L. Boyce. Thank you.
Bye now. I'm gonna just jump on stage and get in my position here. First of all, let me say thanks so much for coming out. I'm excited about another edition of our Soul Talk conversation. We started off talking about Soul Talk to really shine a light on mental health and connect the residents of Franklin County with resources, more importantly, because we know that ignoring your mental health can have real consequences. And so we wanted to create a safe environment for the conversation, but more importantly, really to build a pathway to resources for anyone. And it kind of started off about men, and it's kind of led into a community-wide conversation. So I'm excited to do another rendition. I also got to tell you, we did it last year, and I'm going to go into a little bit, but I was like, okay, man, it wore me out. And I was like, enough is enough. We ain't doing that. And I just heard from so many people encouraging us to continue the conversation. And so we did. And so in the past, we've covered various topics like youth, working with young people and seniors and men. We talked about relationships. Oh my gosh, was that a situation? You have no idea. We talked about financial literacy and caregiving and so many other topics that were brought to our attention that have an underlying impact on mental health for us as a community. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. We're going to dig into that, peel back some layers. And then we ended last year's work with a empowerment summit. And I was really thinking about that. And I was like, man, we're going to do a whole conference. I just don't know. And then I showed up, and it was 2,000 people that showed up to the convention center to, one, talk about mental health, two, access resources for mental health, and three, begin their own journey and pathway. And I just really felt like that was a big enough signal to tell us that it was worth the investment. We had over 40 breakout sessions, and like I said, a little over 2,000 attendees. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Wallow and Gilly. They came all the way from Philadelphia, and so if they're watching, Thank you, brothers. Good to see you again. We keep in touch. We text and go back and forth. So I mean, those guys are really doing their thing. And then I'd definitely be remiss if I didn't recognize my main man. I don't know if he's watching today, but Maurice Claret. I really, yeah, give him a round of applause, man. You know, I can't think of a more local public situation that's played out where someone has had to publicly manage mental health challenges, ups and downs, but his bounce back is incredible. I mean, his bounce back as a person, as a man, as a businessman is bigger than his performance that freshman year he had at Ohio State. I mean, that guy is one of my favorite people in all the world. And so I hope he's watching. I'll talk to you soon, my brother. And then Dr. Ledette, who is, I mean, there is nobody like Dr. Ledette in the country. I mean, you know, when you start looking at all the letters behind his name, that's one thing. But then when you talk to the brother, and he's able to connect physical health with mental health in a way that you just don't see every day, you know why he's special. And I appreciate what he's done with us. He's working directly with us with youth that are incarcerated in Franklin County, and it's a big deal, and he's doing great work, so I want to thank him. And then I'd be remiss if I saw Mayor Bivens walk in from Whitehall. Give him a round of applause. I think he's still here. Is he still here? Yeah, he is. And you know, he just shot his hand up. And what I love about Mayor Bivens is, you know, he texted me earlier today. He said, hey, I had something come open in my calendar, and I was wondering if you got a seat for me, if I could come and listen in. And I said, of course, Mayor, you know, come on through. And then he's come, and he's in the back room. I recognize he don't even stand it. And what I mean by that is he's just a serious guy. You know, he's serious about the work. He's serious as a leader. And I really appreciate you, bro. Thanks for being here. I know you understand the depth of this conversation. And then certainly there's many people who are going to recognize at the end, but do me a favor, for all those who are here doing videos and have organized, do me a favor, give them a quick round of applause, because they work hard on my behalf. And you know, I recognize you guys in the end, but I definitely want to take a second to just acknowledge you. So today we're going to be talking about men's mental health in particular. And this is, we know that men's mental health is critical to our families and moreover to our community. But these conversations are designed to show just how deeply mental health impacts every part of our lives. Studies show that when people have access to resources, when they can talk openly, and when they can take intentional steps toward healing, their entire quality of life can improve. And so I've got some panelists that are going to come and join me, and we're going to just have a real conversation about mental health in men and the impact on our community and the broader conversation. So now, one thing I would say is interesting. Can you put the picture of the invite up there that had their pictures on it? Because I was like, man, they don't look like that. I was thinking, hold on, like, now, Kenny, you dress like that all the time, so I'm going to just say that's you for sure. Nick, I'm not quite sure what's going on with you in the tuxedo there as your picture. You know, Coach, you look like a coach. And I mean, so you consistent. But Coach said to me, man, I don't know where they had that picture where I had hair. So, like, okay, it's there, though. Pastor, that's Pastor Rick. I mean, he just, one way or another, he going to stand out. He going to find a way to stand out. And then my Attiba, like, I'm trying to remember when you had that suit, because I ain't seen that brother in no suit. Like, I'm like, now, I've known him for many, many years, and I don't know where that suit is. But anyway, so that's their picture. Now we're going to see the guys that come up here. So first, it's my pleasure to introduce Nick Knight, who's the founder and executive director of Elevated Wellness Community Outreach. Come on up. Take a seat. I think it's that end, right? You want them to go to that end, far end? Yeah, no, yeah. Yep, okay, all right. So just kind of come in and fill in. Next is my main man, Kenny Hampton, president of the African American Male Wellness Agency. Kenny walking up here like I've been here before, you know. And then Coach Adam Stewart. I just met him, but I've heard so many great things about him. He's the head coach for men's lacrosse at Capital University and the founder of the Great Teammate Project. So thanks for being here, Coach. Appreciate you. Next, I have Pastor Rick Jones, Executive Pastor of City of Grace Church. You know, they're over there killing it, leading this great community. I appreciate my man all day. And then finally, Attiba Jones, the Chief Business Strategist at End the Violence. Oh, yeah, it was, because I was like, where'd y'all get that picture? Okay. That's funny. All right, so a couple of housekeeping rules. We'll get right into it. But the first one is, let's have an authentic conversation. I know we're on stage. I know the lights are on. We are live streaming, and and we are having a real discussion. But I would just ask for authenticity. You know, let's ignore the folks in the audience. Let's ignore the folks that might be watching, and just have a conversation as though we were in the basement watching a game, drinking a couple of beers at the bar, at church. So that would the pastor sitting next to me. You know, let's really just try to have an authentic conversation. And, you know, and I would just say that if we have a authentic conversation, there should be some discord, there should be some disagreement, and there should be a little bit of difference. But we're going to be respectful to each other's experiences and perspectives. And I want to just preface all of this with, this should be a safe place to have conversations, because to me, that's the first step in mental health, is that's being able to talk about it in a safe position and place. And so we're going to all kind of adhere to that. And I know I don't look very big or strong, but trust me,
Don't try.
I got some hands. I got some hands, we just say. But here's how this is going to work. We're going to watch a clip together, and then we're going to dive into a discussion. We'll use the clip, hopefully, to spark and ignite the conversation and really sort of set the tone for what we're trying to talk about. And again, I want to just challenge you to be as open and free with your conversation, because to me, that's part of the mental health conversation, is allowing people to know it's okay to have a real conversation and to share perspective and listen to other perspectives. If you're eager to ask a question, type it in the chat. That's for those folks who are watching. Or if you're in the room today, you can write your question on the cards provided, and someone, you see Adriana is holding it up, someone will get that question from you, and we'll work it in. Because even though you're not really there, we're just kind of having a conversation, we want you to be here, and so your questions matter, and I think it will enhance the conversation. So do that. And then finally, let's start with my challenge to the folks on stage. We're going to dive right into things, and I want you to take about 30 seconds to just truly reflect on your own mental health state right now. And when I say that, I mean, you know, if you woke up this morning and you felt sad and you cried, I want you to embrace that and think about that. If you woke up and you was angry and you was mad about something, I want you to embrace that. If you know that happened to someone else, or you know someone else going through something and you know that's getting you, I want you to just embrace that for a second, because I want to try to create a tone and mood of authenticity around just life and how it goes. So just take a second. And everybody in the room, you can participate too. Take a second to think about your own mental health state. As they're queuing this video up, let me say my staff called me and she said, are you on your way here? And I was like, actually, I'm on 70 West and I'm just driving to my car till the gas runs out. And I said, I left you a note of goodbye and this is this morning. That was like an hour ago, you know. But I think that's the kind of state sometimes we all just kind of feel like getting on the road and driving, you know, and seeing where it takes us. But I want to dig into a couple of this sort of, we live in a time where phrases and terminology dominate the discussion every day. And so the question is about toxic masculinity. Let's start with that, Pastor. With toxic masculinity coming all the way from the White House these days, people talking about toxic masculinity in our president. Do you feel like that has an effect on public policy, and or is it the same as it always been? So let's cue up the video, and I want you to start thinking about that. And Nick, I think I'm gonna start down there with you on the first response. So we'll cue the video.
My behalf, the men in my life are either angry in the way they express their emotion or they're silent. Is that pretty typical?
Those are safe. You can't be weak. You can't be soft. You can't be a simp, as they say. If you're just angry, if you're silent, you look stoic now. Oh, he must be strong because nothing ever phases him. And so men, anger is a very safe emotion to express. When our feelings are hurt, we're angry. When we're sad, we're angry. When we lose, we're angry. It's a surface emotion. That's why I tell men to dig deep. What are you really feeling? And I can compare it to masculinity, to the crayon analogy in this book. As men, we stay within the 8 box of crayons, okay?
Yeah.
And we may pull out 4. Women have 64.
That's why we confuse you so much, Jason.
But this is interesting. We were created for all of those emotions. They're not exclusive to you. It's there, but we've been hoodwinked by allowing society to define what a man is. And so when women are communicating with us, they may pull out, I'll use an analogy of the color violet, and all we have is purple. We
Right.
can't meet the moment. Or even more complex issues, they ask for lime, and we're trying to put green and yellow together. And because men, we're not used to expressing the gamut of emotions that we have as human beings, we can't meet the moment.
So, all right, so I got ahead of myself on the question about the White House because I wanted to kind of set the tone that that's where a lot of this is, people are talking about the word toxic masculinity. But we're gonna come back to that, and I'm gonna just start with you, Nick, and I'm gonna say, define masculinity, and maybe talk about this phrase, toxic masculinity, and kind of what it means. And then I'm curious as to your thoughts on if you buy into that. Like, men have just a couple of emotions, and women have all of the emotions, and so what he said, tap into all of those. Do you buy into that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, what is masculinity to me? Strong, of course, up front, but vulnerable. Vulnerable is very deep. Where I am soft, but softness doesn't mean that I am weak, right? And so, another thing for masculinity to me is also that I am a leader. I got to be a leader. I have to, dive deep into what's going on and be a visionary for my family, my friends, and those around me. So for myself, that's what masculinity is. And then going into this clip here, no, I think we have all the colors of the crayon box. I don't think we utilize all the colors of the crayon box. And that can come from our upbringing. For me, having a father figure in my life, but my father only showing me certain things. So I have to go out and kind of find other things on my own later on as I become an adult, a young man. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go to you, Attiba. Yeah.
Okay. I guess if you are asking me what toxic masculinity is,
Well, first, what is masculinity?
Well,
and then how do you feel about this phrase, toxic masculinity?
well, I think that's kind of a complex scenario, and I say it's complex because I feel like we live in a feminine society now, so it's not, and that's just what it is. But I think living in a society that we live in, men don't feel, or at least me, I'll speak for me, I don't feel like we have a safe environment to have conversation about what my masculinity is. And so I think it's kind of represented because You know, men, we definitely don't want to be seen as, you know, I'm overly aggressive. I don't have, you know, I'm not sensitive to the concerns of the world. But some of our natural expression and interaction is, I think, now being labeled as, you know, you're aggressive, or you're being toxic, or you know, you hear these phrases. So men kind of, like, I think, retreat into themselves. If I look at what masculinity is, I mean, it's different for men than what it is for women, because we speak different languages. We live in a society where everyone wants to say, well, no, we got to speak the same language. But it's hard to communicate that. If I'm talking masculinity, if I have a conversation with just the fellas and we're watching the game, we can get loud, we can shout, we can yell, we can slap hands, and it all feels great and amazing. But from an outside perspective, not in that circle, it may be perceived as aggressive, and that's what gets them up. And it's just a lack of understanding that we see things differently. So, you know, even I look at it even like our interactions, you know, growing up. Like, I have a son, I have one son. My interaction with my son when he was a kid would be aggressive, and my ex-wife would, why are you so aggressive? Why are you, you know, throwing him around? But that's a male form of affection. So, you know, I think it's just complex. I think we see it differently. So to define it, I can define it for men, and you all would understand what I was saying. But most, I think, females would listen to that whole conversation and not understand it and try to perceive it through their perception, and it may have like a negative connotation.
Do you think that's where the phrase toxic masculinity?
Yeah, I mean, yes, because I don't know what it is, and I'm a man. But, you know, I think being naturally who I am, I don't see myself as somebody who would be imposing, or harsh or treat. You know, for me, men, you know, we can be aggressive, we can be, we can be loud, we can be adventurous, we can be all those things. But those things are good in the form of protection. Those things are good in the form of providing and going out and searching and hunting and gathering, like however you want to perceive it. So I think we've modernized society to the point where we want to understand and be able to understand every minute difference that we have, especially between genders, and that's just frankly impossible. There's so many things I will never understand as a female. So for me to pass, you know, to look and say, well, we say toxic masculinity, and I think if you had everybody in this room write down their definition of it, you're lucky to get 2 or 3 people that agreed on it. So I think it's a perception thing, but yeah.
That's an interesting That's an interesting perspective, and I'm gonna challenge some of the panelists here to, if you agree, because I feel like both Nick and Attiba kind of laid a platform that's pretty, you know, I think obvious to follow. But Kenny, I don't know. What do you think? Is that, and I say that we're getting into this because ultimately it's kind of what the gentleman was saying. So then if there's a pressure that you can't display certain things, and there's a mental health implication from Nick, you can't be who you are. You have to curtail who you are and what you are, because society says you can't act a certain way, you can't display this emotion, you can't show this kind of feeling. And so, but I think they've laid it out pretty good. Kenny, Coach, Pastor, I mean, do you agree with that, disagree, take a hard line, different direction?
No, I think that what Nick and Attiba, how they articulated it, it really does bring to light that when you look at the word masculinity, it really should be spelled M-A-S-K versus M-A-S-C, because ultimately that's what we're doing when we're showing up in this masculine approach. We're masking. We are not giving ourselves an opportunity to be authentic based upon what society or our surroundings, or sometimes internally what we're struggling with. We don't want that to be exposed. And so I'd rather walk into a room and it just happened. As you announced me up here on this stage, I walked up, and your reaction to that my walk up to this stage was, Kenny looks as if like this is what he does, right? And so for me, being a recovering perfectionist and a recovering people pleaser, I have to be very careful to not allow certain either comments or certain perceptions penetrate or impede my progress of something that I'm working from. We look at, it's when we are reaching condition of what we know we're trying hard daily to work on. Yeah. And so I would encourage anyone that's, particularly our men, when we're struggling with this idea of masculinity, I would challenge you to really ask yourself, get in the mirror and ask yourself, who is it that I am at my core? Like, we're in a state of emergency right now. We fly all over the country with the work that we do, but when you are on that flight, the very first thing, they will not go into the air without going through a safety demonstration. And they say in the event of an emergency, put your oxygen mask on first. Even if you're traveling with a child. I've traveled with our 13-year-old child before, and they literally made it a point to tell me 3 times, do not put your mask on first. I mean, do not put his mask on first, put yours on first. And so I do believe that our men are in a state of emergency. Too many of us are dying in the hands of suicide. And it's because we feel lonely. We're not giving permission, to Attiba's point, to get into a safe environment and have a conversation and be the real Kenny or the real coach or the real Kevin. And so when we look at toxic masculinity, it's something that we have to individually decide. I'm not going to allow any perceptions. I'm not going to allow any self-imposed or self-negative thoughts continue to make me feel like I have to show up as something that other people is saying we approve that. Show up in your most authentic self and then allow whatever they got going on, be what they got going on. But continue to pour into yourself and put your oxygen mask on first so that you can continue to live your most authentic life.
Well, I feel like we're all singing out of the same hymnal, and so I'm concerned about that, because I feel like I'm challenging you guys to be the authentic self right now. And here's what I'm gonna say to do. I'm gonna start with me, okay? And I'm gonna say, with my wife, I have to be very cautious at times when we're talking, let's say politics. She happens to be a politician as well. We're talking because I get nervous about the word mansplaining. That if I give my opinion, it comes across as mansplaining. So I curtail what I'm saying, or I don't say anything. I've learned to just listen, because I've now been told that sometimes we just want you to listen. Sometimes we don't really want to hear what you have to say. Sometimes, and so for me, I feel there's a part of that feels demasculating, that I feel like, okay, I can't, I'm just listening. And you're not expecting me to say something. So I do today. Masculinity is having a mental in society, and the response for us, as we're all saying, has been to curtail what we are saying. So we don't give feedback. We don't. How many of y'all married up here? How many are married? Okay. Now, if your wife asks you, how does this look? Or but and I think here, just as a result, it's causing, like, they let out I mean,